If you're an entrepreneur making money online, or you just want to live in a low or no tax country, then you probably came across Dubai and Cyprus. In my opinion, two of the very best and safest options out there. But they are extremely different. So definitely watch this video until the very end so you don't end up choosing the wrong country because you didn't do enough research. Let's start with the differences in the tax system. The UAE used to have no corporate taxation. However, recently they introduced a 9% corporate taxation and even a 15% corporate taxation for large multinational corporations. But for most small to medium-sized businesses, this is not really relevant and you can still pay 0% in corp tax because 1. The 15% corporate taxation is only for companies with an annual turnover of over 750 million, and 2. Even the 9% corp tax has several exemptions so that you or your business don't have to pay it. The biggest one, for example, is if your company has less than 100,000 euros in annual profits. In Cyprus, it's pretty easy. 12.5% on all the profits of the company, maybe 15% in the near future, but this would then be even the global minimum corporate taxation. Dubai also used to have no VAT for a long time, but they introduced a 5% VAT on all local goods and services a few years ago actually. And Cyprus, as we are also in the European Union, we have a 19% local VAT on all goods and services. But for many businesses, this is not even interesting or relevant because we can buy products without VAT or we get the VAT back later on. The VAT is mainly for consumers. Anyway, the next point is personal taxation, and this is really interesting. In Dubai, there is no personal tax. There is also no dividend tax, and it will most likely stay like that, even though they have the changes to their other taxes. This is probably the most attractive thing about Dubai, that they have a 0% personal tax. Here in Cyprus, there is also no dividend tax if you're a non-dom. However, we do have a personal income tax. Everything above 19,500 euros a year gets taxed here in Cyprus with a progressive income tax, and if you earn more than 100,000 euros per year as an income, then you have a 35% income tax, which is the highest bracket. But this doesn't mean that Cyprus is bad from a tax perspective, because you just do what we discussed in many other videos, and that is you just pay yourself a relatively low salary and you're playing with your dividends, because then you receive your dividends tax free and you don't need to rely on your monthly salary. Now let's talk about the requirements of becoming a tax resident in both countries. In Dubai, you need to obtain a UAE visa, more on that later. You need to rent or own a property, you need to have a local bank account, and you also need to stay in Dubai 183 days a year in the country. In Cyprus, on the other hand, you just have to stay here for 60 days a year. You shall not stay more than 183 days in any other country. That's the same for Dubai as well, by the way. And you also need to rent or own a property here. And here we have one of the biggest advantages of Cyprus compared to other countries, and that is that you only have to stay 60 days, 2 months a year in Cyprus in order to be a non-dom tax resident in Cyprus. In almost all other countries, you have to stay at least 183 days a year in the country, such as Malta, Portugal, and also Dubai. But in Cyprus, it's just 60. Let's talk about the costs of incorporating a company and maintaining it in Dubai versus Cyprus. I would say opening a company in Cyprus is relatively easy if I compare it to Germany, where I used to have a GmbH and the paperwork there was crazy, but in Dubai it's even simpler. You do everything digital and you even sign digitally. In both countries, Dubai and Cyprus, the formation process takes about 3 weeks and the total costs are around 5,000 euros. Obviously it depends on each individual case, but this is what you can expect. For the management costs, so the ongoing costs for maintaining a company, Dubai used to have the very big advantage that you didn't need to file your documents, but even now in Dubai you have to file your documents, so you have to do a tax audit, for example, and now I would argue that the maintaining costs are pretty much the same in both countries, which is also around 5,000 euros for an average volume company. Here I have to say, be very careful with whom you're working with, because almost everybody can open a company. That's not the magic. The magic is to create a bulletproof structure, especially if you're working with offshore companies. For the structure of how you actually get your money out of your business account to your private account in the most tax-friendly way, in Cyprus you do it mainly through dividends, because as discussed earlier, as a non-dom individual you're exempt from the dividend tax, the SDC, and more on that in this video about the non-dom status in Cyprus. In Dubai, it can be the dividends because there is 0% dividend tax, but it can also be salary because there is 0% personal income tax, so you can basically choose between both of them. But what's very important for both countries is if you actually physically move to the country and you change your center of life to the new country and you spend the minimum days required in that country. If you just want to have an offshore company in that country to save taxes, be very careful because especially these days it gets harder and harder. It will work today, also next week and probably also next year, maybe even in 2 years, but what about in 10 years? What if you get a manual audit because you have 10 Ferraris in your driveway, but you're just paying 10,000 euros to the local government? What I'm trying to say is this: you're only truly safe if you change your center of life to a new country and you apply to the new local tax department in that country. At the end of the day or at the end of the year, you have to pay taxes somewhere. If that new country wants 0% taxes, then lucky you because that's €0 for you. But if you're still living in your old country and they want 50%, then they will be angry if they know that you have an offshore company right here. Yes, I know, there will be people arguing now that there are some alternative options where you don't have to leave your current home in order to enjoy those benefits. However, two very important buzzwords are CFC and CRS. CFC could still make you eligible to paying your local taxes even if you have a super smart structure with nominees, this and that. And because of the CRS, everybody knows what you're doing anyway in the first place because most of the countries agreed to the CRS where they are sharing information about companies with each other. A very interesting exception is the US because they actually introduced the CRS but they are not compliant with it. They actually have their own thing which is called the FATCA. Anyways, back to the topic of Dubai versus Cyprus. Speaking of the US, the UAE and the US, they actually don't have a double tax treaty, but since in the UAE there is no personal income tax, you will only have to pay the taxes in the US anyway. Cyprus on the other hand, they do have a double tax treaty with the US and they also have a double tax treaty with most other countries. And now, something that I get a lot of questions about is crypto. And my answer is actually very clear all the time, and that is Dubai is better. Okay, at least for now. I'm waiting for years now for Cyprus to bring a regulation or some sort of answer to the question of how we tax crypto. But Europe in general is just very slow when it comes to things like that, and so meanwhile all of the big crypto exchanges, they set up their headquarters in Dubai, and all of the big boys that are into crypto, they also live in Dubai. Crypto gains in Dubai are completely tax-free because there is no dividend tax and there is no income tax. In Cyprus, on the other hand, we don't know yet because there is no official statement about we handle crypto yet. Sure, capital gains and dividends are also tax-free in Cyprus, but what if they create a whole new bracket for crypto only? What if they say that crypto gains are not capital gains or dividends? Then it's not that easy. But an alternative solution that I saw many times now already is that you put your cryptos into a company and then you just normally tax your company with the corporate taxation of 12.5%, and then everything is 100% taxed in that company, and then you just pay yourself a dividend which leads to 15% in total taxes, and then you're somewhat safe here because you taxed your gains with the company and no one can say in the future that you have to tax something else here. But yeah, to 100% confirm what's the best solution for crypto, we still have to wait. Very important, if you're an active trader and you're trading crypto, commodities, stocks, Forex, whatever there is on a daily basis, intraday, then you need to be very careful because in some countries such as Zug, Switzerland for example, they claim that when trading is your main source of income, then actually you're self-employed and you then have to pay the personal income tax as well as social insurance in many cases. So in that case in Dubai, you're actually on the safe side because you know there is no dividend and no personal income tax. Again, this doesn't mean that Cyprus is bad for traders. This also doesn't mean that this has to happen to you. I just don't want you to run into a falling knife, and I want to give you a warning because I have seen so many people do big mistakes that they regret later on, and I don't want you to be one of them. And even if it sounds boring, I'm still here to give you that warning because someone has to do, because all of the other people, they just want to sell you something and they will say that everything is bulletproof, everything is safe, because they will earn money when you open the companies with them. And I'm just here sharing my experiences with you, and if you appreciate that, subscribe to the channel. Next, banking. And I actually mainly work with fintech banks. However, if you're working with millions and millions of euros, you actually don't want to work with fintechs because it wouldn't even work in the first place. In that case, you would want to have a local bank account, and in both countries you actually physically need to go to the banks in order to open a bank account. And they will ask you a lot of questions about where the money is from and what you're doing with it, how much you have, how much you will have, how much you used to have, this and that is the case in both countries. I would even argue in Cyprus pretty much more because we used to have the banking crisis in 2012, and also Cyprus is regulated by the EU. And the UAE is a little bit more easy on that, but obviously also not very easy that they will just accept all of your money. Also, another benefit of Dubai banks are that one, a lot of them are actually crypto friendly, and two, once you opened the bank account, a lot of the things you want to do on a daily basis you can do via an app because they are very digital. In Cyprus you still have to do a physical presence for certain things from time to time. If you want to know more about Cyprus banks, I have a separate video about that. Residencies, citizenships and visas. Cyprus offers a very easy residency process for Europeans, and for non-Europeans there is an investment program where you have to invest at least 300,000 euros and then you also get the permanent residency. With the residency you can apply for the citizenship and for the passport after 5 years of living in Cyprus. In Dubai there are two main options. Number one is the most common one, and that is that you get a 2-year visa if you incorporate a company in the UAE. By the way, this doesn't just have to be Dubai, it can also be other free zones such as Ras Al Khaimah for example. You have to be in Dubai at least once every 6 months in order to remain the visa, but there are some extension possibilities, and also you have to renew the visa every 2 years. Option number 2 is the UAE Golden Visa, and this is a 10-year visa. You don't have to be in Dubai every 6 months, but you have to do a real estate investment of at least 550,000 euros. By the way, in both countries, Cyprus and Dubai, you can also sponsor family members so they get the same benefits if you do the investment program for the residency. So, where should you go? In conclusion, both countries definitely have pros and cons. And they are very different in its own nature. Especially the lifestyle is so different in both countries, but I focus on the tax and business benefits in this video. If you want to have a one-by-one comparison for the other areas, then definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. In my opinion, the answer to where you should go depends on what you do exactly, on how much money you make and what your goals are. Cyprus has much lower living costs compared to Dubai, which makes it more interesting for small and medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs. You could potentially move to Cyprus with just 50,000 euros per year and you have a very great lifestyle here. But the more you earn, the more important becomes the tax part. If you earn 50k per year, it doesn't really make a difference if you pay 15% in taxes or 0% in taxes. But if you earn 500k or 1 million, it really does make a difference, because on 1 million in profits, it's 100,000 euros in taxes that you would pay here in Cyprus that you don't have to pay in Dubai. If you earn 10 million a year, then we are talking about 1 million corporate tax that you would pay here in Cyprus. In that case, it also doesn't matter how much you will pay for rent, for coffee, for food, because you will certainly have more profits in Dubai. My rule of thumb is, if you don't earn at the very least 120,000 euros per year, Dubai probably doesn't make that much sense for you yet. But Cyprus does. I also live in Cyprus. I'm used to the Christian culture, I love nature, and I'm getting used to the laid-back, relaxed lifestyle here. If you also think that Cyprus might be the better option for you, then you should definitely watch this video and I will see you there.